of original people. How's everybody doing, man? If I'm other friend, I share the group of tears along with my co-host, bringing it into the 10,000 years, so I got God, and all of you, of course. I wanted to thank and praise to the Creator, Most High, for getting us here through another week, as well as for those of us who may have had lost the group the past week. I definitely want to send our condolences and blessings and love and light to you. We also want to give thanks and praise to everybody that's been supporting us in terms of sending donations to the show to help keep the show on and stuff like that. I greatly appreciate it. Not a joke. The first year that we actually kind of put it out there that we did come up, and for those people who think that original people or our people won't support, you don't know the half, man. Definitely want to give thanks and praise again to all of you who have been constantly supporting us from day one, as well as those people who may have wanted to pledge a donation or whatever, but maybe didn't have the funds. The intent helps bring other intent in, so I definitely don't want to discredit you and leave you out. So, again, man, we just want to give thanks and praise to everyone who's ever supported us, thought about supporting us, or supported us. Also, for those people who are out there who need, support in spirit matters or matters of the soul, we definitely want to put it out there to hope that the wholesome neighbor family please send your prayers and blessings and well wishes, as well as positive energy, dark matter energy, dark energy itself to two of our great sisters. One sister named Yasmin. We definitely want to give thanks and praise to her and send her some love and support. She's going through some stuff right now, but we definitely want to open it up and give well wishes for the entire Super Heru family community to put it in. Also, another sister. I'm talking as clear and in as I can.
Yep, here.
It's as high as it can. Should it sound better than last week? That's good. Can you hear me now? Everybody can hear me? Just making sure. Don't gotta check in. Yeah, let me know, guys. I'm talking as clear as I can. Great. Also, another sister named Sister Aseer Judah. We definitely want to give shout out to you and support. So everybody to the Heru family, you could send some violet healing protective light from two sisters that we just spoke of. Sister Yasmin Wolf and Sister Aseer Judah. And sisters, I'm going to definitely highlight you tomorrow individually about, whatever's going on. But you definitely want to have the show be a place where we all can receive that healing light that we all have and carry for each other, but sometimes don't realize that we have the ability to effectuate. So, peace to them. For those people, okay, great. Step up. For those people who tuned in last week's show, for that, we were talking about how this guy, who they call the first black president or whatever it's supposed to be, opposing the right to the people and all this other crap. But in actuality, this dude basically did exactly what we said he was going to do, which is sign into effect the NDAA, which is basically a defense bill that calls for the search and seizure of American people, all American people. But who's going to get taxed the brunt of that shit. Also, it calls for the indefinite detainment of people just based upon them not liking you. It also calls for the torture of people who don't want to communicate or for whatever reason. Also, being that Guantanamo Bay is getting shut down, this is going to lead to the extradition, meaning the extraditing of what they call online rendition centers. This means that all of the rendition centers they got in Egypt, they got in Albania, they got in Moldavia, they got in the hills of Romania, in the Balkan states, also in places like Saudi Arabia, not Saudi Arabia, places like Yemen that they're setting up now. All these rendition sites is out here. So this is calling for the immediate extradition and taking out of American people off American soil. So basically, when they created the Trading with the Enemy Act, that basically said that they cannot go against the American people, going all the way back to Patti Comitatus. Going all the way back to Patti Comitatus, they don't have the ability to do so. They are in a position now where they can basically do whatever they want, to the point where they have certain laws now that they've implemented in New Columbia. For those people that don't know what New Columbia is, you can Google it. But New Columbia, for those people that not know, is the new name of Washington, D.C. It's going to be called the District of New Columbia. And New Columbia will be the new, quote-unquote, NWO aspect of what the old United States is. What you are seeing right now is the last bastion of so-called American liberty basically going down the tubes. And the people that's basically supporting this are all of the people that are basically in your government right now. So in order for them to not all be tried for treason and impeachment and all of that, all of these guys have basically created a situation where the number one terrorist that the government has to protect itself from is its own people. It's the first time in history that ever a democratic society like the United States has gone to this level of deprivation. This lets you know, though, that whenever they come down with the hammer real hard on something like this, this means that their power is actually really waning. They're actually very, very peace. You know how we do. We start going in. Exactly. Peace. You know what's going on. And again, this is just an example of what I'm talking about. Is the fact now that we're in this situation, this is going to be happening. Not only what they are doing with us on this show is definitely going to start happening to other people's shows, but not necessarily those of us in the community. I'm talking about like mainstream. They're going to be start to do way big, giant blackouts, media blackouts about a whole bunch of stuff. They only came about and told everybody about the whole thing, the NDAA, like maybe 2 weeks ago, when this thing has been coming down for a couple of years. Yet still, show you how much of a piece of crap this dude is. When they sent this thing to Bush, as crazy as he is, he said, no, this is too crazy. So whatever's not too crazy for Bush has now become actual sanity, or has now translated some sort of sane way to this guy who's acting as president now. But what this really means is, like I said, is that they've created a climate now in which what they call free speech, all that other stuff, the old America, they're basically breaking that whole thing down. They are succeeding, if not usurping, the original cast of what the so-called even federal government was or could have been. They're now taking it to even further lengths because, see, they got to solidify what they're going to do with this place before they start pushing in Iran. The Iran thing is going to be a big problem because the Chinese, in plain English, have told them, if you mess with Iran, we are going to go to war with you. And the United States cannot afford to have a war with China. They cannot afford to have a war with China while they're fighting in Afghanistan, while they're trying to lock you down here, while they're also in over 159 bases all over the world. This is the Antichrist army. This is the so-called destruction. But the whack thing is that those people who are in the military, in the police, in these organizations, don't even realize that you the first one they're going to start to go into, that they're going to start to go in on. Think about it. When you watch Terminator, what was the first thing he did when he was looking for Sarah Connor? She thought she was safe with the police. What did he do? He shut down the police station. Same thing when they was doing war drills in the late 90s. they was going in the Midwest and paying police stations, police precincts, to allow them to come in there and burn up the precinct, take over the town, and all of this in the form of strategic practice for urban or guerrilla warfare. But they never make it seem like the urban or guerrilla warfare they fighting is going to be against you, but of course it is. Literally burning up police stations, detaining police, arresting them. This is what's coming down. So all these cops that's been in situations with police brutality and all that, get ready, because they're about to start doing the same shit to you. Also, the fact that this thing has happened, they are now, you have 49 members of Congress that are now coming out against it. But see, the thing is, this dude really didn't get the permission to do it the right way. Now, the question is, why is it when these people come up with legislature and stuff like that, they act like they just can't stop it? They act like once they put it up for the debate or whatever, that that's what it is. But half the people with these bills, they don't even read them. They don't even read them. How can you sit there and read 5,000 to 6,000 pages? That's why they make this shit so long. Ain't nobody going to sit there and read all of that. It would take you at least maybe 4 months to read a 6,000 plus page document that has all types of subheadings and articles and subsections and par clauses. This is the problem. The problem is that the country has now descended into madness. It is madness what this dude is trying to do now. When you read this bill, go online and read it. Go online and read the National Defense Act, so the NDAA. Read that shit, man. There's stuff in there to have you bugging. They're saying that they could come and your child, your baby, could be deemed a terrorist. And they come and get the baby and leave you. It's sick, and it's going to get worse to the point now where they are arresting people for dancing and kissing in federal monument places. You have to be of the utmost reverence. If not, if you're not showing reverence or whatever, they have the ability to arrest you. Because remember, the people in the Washington Monument and all that, whatever, they are acting as parts of the National Parks Department. The National Parks Department is under the jurisdiction of the United Nations. That's not under the jurisdiction of the United States. They signed that over during the Kyoto Treaty. For those people who are students of history. At the same time they're doing this, though, and putting all of this stuff out there, in Maryland, they're herding up. They forcing people who don't want to have their children vaccinated. They literally go into their crib, rounding them up with guns, forcing them to bring the children to the courthouse with guns to force them to get vaccinations in Maryland. Okay? And they're doing this to white people. They're doing this to white people, kids. So imagine what they're going to try to flip on us. It's getting really sick. Then on the other side of this now, they have what they call the NAU, North American Union, which is now being retooled to be called something else based upon them trying to reenact the superhighway thing. They setting this thing up where they're now basically calling for the absolving of Canada as a nation state. Don't believe me? Those people in Canada, let them know. Tell them. Because they have access now to the parliament. Because now that the Queen has been depicted, what I'm thinking is going on is that the Anglo-American establishment is trying to move itself up to the primary position, specifically through Wall Street, by negating the UK branch through the royal family connection, which then means that they're probably allying themselves more with the Vatican. Because all roads lead to Rome with this thing. No human is going to make a law that you can't dance, okay? You only see that in movies like Footloose and shit like that. And no doubt white folks was crazy during the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s where they was creating these blue laws and these Jim Crow laws that only affected certain people. But now, again, now the shoe is on the other foot. They are now starting to be affected. This is now happening to them. How can you lock somebody up for dancing? Okay? At the Jefferson Memorial, Jefferson, who is allegedly the biggest proponent of, American civil liberties and being able to, keep it all together and fight for free speech and all that. Now, on his monument, this is where people is getting arrested en masse. Locking people up for dancing. Don't nobody dance more than us. So if they doing that again, they doing this to white folk. Can you imagine what they want to get planned for us? But if you think that this nigga who's sitting in that office is going to do anything, again, he could have stopped it. He could have vetoed it. He didn't. Because he don't care about us. He don't care about nobody. And we know this. You all knew this. You knew it was coming. We've been saying it. But how they flip the magic is they put it in a black face. So now the black man is the symbol of oppression. You see what I'm saying? Psychologically. And this is the same dude who wants to get reelected. It's like, to me, he should have waited at least until the election to come in. But see, maybe he knows something he don't. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he like, let me just get it all out now, you know what I'm saying, just in case. Because astrologically, shit don't look good for him either. For the country, period. It's just not well. It's not really good. Because now that with this Uranus thing in Sagittarius, this is all about breaking confinements, breaking through obstacles, being free in your expression, using art as a means of understanding time and how to walk into the future based on the knowledge of the past. All of that's done. Like I said, they forcing people in Maryland, children by gunpoint, into courtrooms to get vaccinated. It's sick. The other side of this now is that your man Kim Jong-il just died, and they are really, really, really nervous about that. Show you how they do stuff or how things be set up in the long run. If anybody remembers a movie in the 80s, remember this movie called Red Dawn? I remember it. It was the only movie I think my father ever took me to. Actually, that's not true. He took me to Flash Gordon, and when that came out, and Red Dawn. Red Dawn kind of freaked me out because it was all about the invasion and the kids having to fight back against the Russians and the Cubans. Well, now they're doing a remake of it, or they have been working on a remake of it for a while now, and they basically set it up. But in the remake, instead of it being the Russians, the enemy was the Chinese. So based upon people in the Chinese State Department finding issue with this, meaning that this was kind of like a veiled allegory for what potentially could happen between China and the United States in the future, they switched it up. And through digital technology, they made the enemies, instead of having them Chinese, they made them North Korean. Now the question is now that this dude is dead, are they still going to come out with the enemies being North Korean, or are they going to switch them back to Chinese, or are they going to make them somebody else? I think me personally, I think the movie's cursed. Because it's a veiled allegory for what it is they're basically setting up now. You know what I'm saying? The other side of that is the fact that China, I mean, who would have thought at the end times that the Great Red Dragon, which is in the Bible, everybody thought was Russia, but is actually China, is now basically being poised as like the good guy. And that America is like China and Russia and these other countries that we were raised up on to believe were communist and the worst human oppression, human oppressive society governments in the world, which they are, or were, or whatever. Who would have thought now that the United States has gone even beyond what they have done? That almost China and Russia, they're trying to almost make themselves seem like they're actually like the good guys, and like the U.S. is like the bad guy. You know, it's like we're at a stage now where it's like blind patriotism is going to start leading people to the gas chambers, yo. The same way they hooked people up before with all that shit is the same way they're going to do it now. They didn't just intern Japanese during World War II. They interned Japanese, they interned Chinese, they interned black people, they interned Turkish people, they interned Cuban people. They interned people who they wasn't even at war with. The only people who wasn't really interned like that in mass were Caucasian people. they were under a different jurisdiction because they were allowed to function because they were trying to find out if any Russian spies were still in the so-called active in the United States. So a lot of the Caucasian people didn't really get outed like that until the McCarthy trial, until the McCarthy era. And he started going in on them. But the communists that he was looking for were not basically socialist communists. They were the New World Order people that we talk about right now. There was a book written by a guy named Fred Quigley, who basically wrote a book, a response book to a book written by a NWO apologist named, I forget the guy's name, but the book was called The Naked Capitalist. If anybody can get this book, you should get it, because in there it shows you how a lot of these formed, a lot of these social programs and everything was basically funded by the same people who's basically doing all the funding and crazy stuff right now. That we know. This has always been the case. But see, it's getting to a point where it's like they are forcing, they are literally constricting the people to some sort of crescendo. All of these Occupy Wall Street movements, all this stuff, there's really no difference between what's going on with this shit and what's going on in Egypt or in Libya. Only difference with Libya, this is how ill they are with their ritual. There has not been an American presence, American part of the American government to set foot in Libya since the Barbary Wars, going all the way back to the mid-1800s, where Jefferson sent a battalion, sent a ship over there to deal with the fact that we, or our ancestors as the Moorish or Barbary pirates, was basically enslaving Caucasian people, so much so that there was really, that every vessel that any Anglo country, fledgling Anglo country had at the time was being used to combat the rampant abuse that we were giving to the Christian slaves. So in the process of this, Libya was one of the main countries of the Barbary State. So when he sent the battleship out there, I forget the name of the ship, battleship out there to fight, they really got their ass handed to them. And in the process, they dragged the bodies of the captain and the Caucasian crew. They dragged them through the streets. And eventually their remains were interned in the only Protestant cemetery in the entire country. The only one in the entire country. So the Protestants, or the Protestants, were also, like I said, Caucasoid men and women who were really fighting for their own freedom against not only the political oligarchy, but the social oligarchy or hierarchy that existed in the world, in which we had an affinity for enslaving and putting these people in bondage. And so it got to such a degree. Now, here it is now in 2011, Gaddafi's gone. The first U.S. ambassador in over 200 years has now set foot in the interim government, in which things is blowing up, people being assassinated. You have tribal warfare all over the country. People are slaughtering, genocidally slaughtering black Libyans in order to allow the so-called Libyans to rock, the Arabic-looking Libyans. And the guy who's in charge, the so-called dude sitting in Pennsylvania Avenue, this dude is okay with it. You know what I'm saying? He is supporting the same rebels that was out here blowing up and killing American soldiers during the first Gulf War, during the second Gulf War, during all of them. So what we're talking about is almost like a one-way ticket to self-annihilation. And it's like the country, or the people who are really running this country, are putting it to a point where it's got to the point of what they call the event horizon. That's the edge of the black hole. That's the precipice right before you, the vacuum of the black hole sucks you in. Case in point, they just found another one, black hole, at the center of our universe. And this black hole is small, but a small black hole is very relative. What we consider small is not really small like that, but what it is, though, is that it's emitting radio transmissions. That's what the Huffington Post didn't say about it. Now, remember, they told us when we was growing up that nothing escapes a black hole but sound. I mean, nothing can escape a black hole. How can that be? If they have just put out that they're receiving radio transmissions or some sort of microwave transmissions through this black hole. So somebody's communicating. Somebody's got a radio out there. So as all of this stuff starts to perpetuate, like I said, this dude, Kim Jong-il, is now dead. This creates a power vacuum in the Southern Pacific or the South Pacific regions because they don't really know anything too much about North Korea because North Korea is the pit bull of China. South Korea is the pit bull of the United States. So anything the United States want to know about North Korea, it got to prep South Korea to go in there and get. They can't really do that now because this dude's son is now going to take over. Now, the thing with this dude's son, what they're saying is that he is even more about banging on the West than his pops was. And that they said that they would have meetings where they would have to calm him down. Some of the tirades or so-called American tirades that this dude been putting in. So the question then becomes, how is this going to affect our community? How is this going to affect our families? Well, let's look at how they're basically positioning the family. One, the FDA has now approved a form of pill that allegedly is there to help perpetuate the memory. But one of the things that's in the ingredients allegedly that's in this pill that's supposed to be helping your memory is actually one that helps wipe the memory. So I don't know how it's helping bring your memory up and then wipe it at the same time. I don't know how that happens. But FDA is approving this. So we're talking about the chemical infusion of memory loss, guised under the cover of creating healthy memory cells. So what we have to, I think, as the original people, as well as anybody who's non-original that may be listening to the show, who may not necessarily agree with everything we're talking about as it pertains to us because maybe you feel not included or you feel with judgment, whatever it is. This white, quote-unquote, white supremacist thing that they've been building up or whatever was really, to me, just a veiled allegory to set up a predominant host body that they could perpetually manifest through and keep the deteriorated version of this reality going. So the whole white-black thing is really just an incidental aspect of a greater agenda. And the greater agenda is to mass possess everyone. So for those people that they can't put a spell on, they'll try to cast one on. You understand? So in a casting spell system, cast can be spelled cast like to throw, C-A-S-T, or C-A-S-T-E, which is the cast, which is then bringing in this whole assault on the middle class, which is why the middle class are going to be wiped out. This is all part of it, because you can't have a totalitarian regime with a middle class. You can only have a bourgeoisie or elite class and then a low slave class. You can't have nothing in the middle, because once they go to an extreme society, everything in the society has to be extreme. There can't be a gradual means of seduction. It's either all or nothing, which is the biggest problem with the situation now, because it's created almost a mass dementia amongst people where we are basically still functioning like this thing is what it was when we was growing up. And it's not even what it was a month ago. You understand? You don't have a government anymore. I don't think any country in the world has a government anymore, because really what we're talking about is government extending itself to become God over man. Okay? You have people who are setting themselves up to be gods over you. You understand? And because they have now perpetuated this, they have checks and balances and protocols already set up to phase into this new system. And as they phase into this new system, this is just really about how they want to define what the future is going to be for everyone else. When Uranus right now, there's a planet that is screaming for individuality, for you to think for yourself, for you to be for yourself, for you to express and use art as a means to break through some of the societal challenges that we see, which is why all of the art that's coming out, especially pertaining to us, is all materialistically oriented. It's all about keeping you fixed, finite, and physical. It's all about maintaining the status of what they refer to or what people think is capitalism. The stuff they're doing now has nothing to do with capitalism. Everybody was saying that, in the mid-'80s, early '90s, the whole vibe for capitalism switched up. Because it used to be you was a sellout if you did certain things that didn't reflect the community. Now, if you don't get the money to do that, the community don't want to support. Not necessarily our community. I'm talking about the American community as a whole. So these systems have created a system where they have a new market, a new niche market now for white-collar criminals, where the prison industrial complex has now moved up and now is starting to create luxury prisons for criminals, for white-collar criminals or criminals who have done crime that has equated to like what the banks did and everything else. So when people are talking about Club Fed, so when people are calling it Club Fed and all of that, right, this is beyond this. I'm talking about prisons with luxury spas. I'm talking about prisons with rain rooms, baccarat, backgammon. You know what I'm saying? One of these prisons, they even building on a boat. So basically, when you go on, when you get locked down, your cabin is like your prison, and then you got to stay in the cabin. But the cabin is the size of a small condo. You know, I know Madoff is his, that he got bagged up too late. As well as milking and the rest of them. So while that is going on, you got okay, now you got some propaganda to help now promote the fact that a study's come out. Huffington Post put this out. They basically said that same-sex marriages is actually saving gay people's lives. This is the news day. They're saying that same-sex marriages are on the rise and heterosexual marriages are on the decline. They're saying right now only maybe they said divorce rate is up. So they're saying that most people in the United States, well, not most people, you know how they do their little statistics and percentiles and all of that, but they're basically saying that because the same-sex wave came and everybody started going on that and everybody's going to get married, that the gay community has historically always changed its behavior whenever it's come to some sort of annihilation or whatever. So like when the AIDS thing went down, they policed themselves. So they're saying that with the whole same-sex thing, that basically created a situation where gays were becoming less promiscuous and becoming more nestled or homebody. So what, again, we're seeing is the reversal, in which now heterosexual families or communities are seen as the somewhat lascivious nature, whereas the so-called gay thing is going to be basically switched up as the medium of culture. These are the psychological underpinnings that manifest in people's subconscious when they put out there, when they just put little blanket statements out there like that. So what you're saying is better. It's better for me. It's more healthy for me to be in a gay marriage than a heterosexual one. And then I'll be able to live. I'll be able to be long. I wouldn't get divorced that quick. Like, come on, man. So that's going on. The other side of this then is a scientist came out the other day, and for a couple of years now has been studying the internet and has been trying to get the weight of it. He claims that the internet itself weighs about 50 grams, which is about 50 grams. But then they say that at the time of death, everybody loses approximately 21 grams of weight. So what they're saying then is that the 21 grams theory is basically the soul. That's the soul leaving the body, and that's how much the soul physically weighs, 21 grams, right? So if they're saying that the internet weighs 50 grams, then they're saying that the internet itself weighs more than the soul itself. So then the question then, through AI technology and all this thing, are you saying then that the internet has a soul? Are we saying that? Or are we saying that the interface that we put into it has increased to such a degree that we have given it so much life that it has now started to become conscious of itself, which we talked about maybe a year ago when we went into the whole Y2K thing. So to add on to all of this confusion and melee and unsettledness in the country, they have also put out that there have also been some airborne toxic events going down. There was one in Florida. I believe it was further up, like Tampa somewhere. Then there was one that they reported in PA, and another one allegedly in New York. So the question again is, if they are ruling the skies and they are in control of all the territory, who gets in the country, who's not. We ain't got no planes. We ain't got none of that. They have all of that. We are now in the theater, what they call the theater of war, in which before open wars to basically open amongst the people, they are doing little things psychologically to put things in place to start to pit people against each other on a, not only just a social level, but on a human level. They don't want us to be able to relate as human beings anymore, because most of us are not functioning as human beings. We're functioning as some sort of quasi, like, sleeper, just kind of doing what we have to do to maintain until we could do something else. But when I say we, I'm speaking in a proverbial sense, like those of us who are even conscious, who find that more and more now, the more we are making finite choices to do things or help certain people, the minute we do that, certain things immediately just pop up, and it becomes almost like it feels like almost like a personal attack. And it's not necessarily manifesting through one given person. It's more like the situation are arising around certain people that bring certain people into the mix that then add on to the divisive nature of keeping you from communing with self. So this is a time before we get into their whole movie, 2012, that they're about to go into starting in January. Which is why they're doing stuff now. They have to sign in another bill to keep the government actually going. No soldier, no police officer, no armed guard, security guard, whatever, is obligated under the rules of engagement in war, going all the way back to the Geneva Conventions and all that stuff. None of them have the obligation to follow an order that is not only morally apprehensive to them, but just plain wrong. They want you to get in a helicopter and fly over somebody and see what they're doing. That's one thing. If they tell you, okay, after we done flew over the helicopter, we got to go in there and get rid of these insurgents, and then they give you a gun and they send you in the insurgents, and the only insurgents you see is women and children, you are not obligated to kill those people. Because those people on the ground are not that. That's what they have been labeled by the command. But at what point do the American people understand that the command itself has run its course? Who is writing all of these legislative laws that these people are against, and where are they coming from? I'm quite sure that people within whatever given state they come from or whatever that they're in are not writing into Congress talking about how they want to get their liberties and all this stuff taken away, and that they're willing to be interned and taken out of the country and tortured and everything just to preserve the American way of life. I know nobody's advocating for that. No one in their right mind would create something in the past that would lock down a future, except the Anglo establishment that the world has been under for the past 250 years. Well, 150 years to be more accurate. So if you're in a situation now where they are literally arresting people for dancing, it can only go downhill from there. It's not going to get any better in the immediate, because if they'll let people do that, if the people let these people do that to them, remember Fame when they was dancing in the streets? Footloose, yeah, that's in Footloose. That was in Footloose, one of these old school blue laws, Jim Crow laws, black codes that they then came up to shut people down. All of these laws and stuff like that can be traced back to the Articles of Capitulation with the Moors in Grenada, specifically, and they violated each one. So there's a guy named Ben Fulford who has who's been going in on these people publicly, openly, and has been in the process of getting them to submit based upon his alleged allegiance with ancient groups that are against the so-called whole plan, like the Black Dragon Society, the Asian Black Dragon Societies, the Green Dragon, so forth and so on. So this dude now is bringing them up for working to take all of them to world court, specifically by name, to be exposed. Because remember, the goal of all of this is to keep the world in a credit cash system, and then move that into a cashless system in which the people themselves are the open form of commodity. This is the goal. So this does not mean that every banker on Wall Street is down with that, but it is to say that if you work there, and you are getting your checks are getting cut from these people, there's a aspect of participation that you are involved in, regardless of whether you know or not. Just like any branch of control that this world has sought to create and perpetuate over us. So this is the time, in my opinion, that it comes to us making hard choices, you know. Because now we're talking about the preservation of the spirit, soul of man and woman, man. Dancing, like when they erected the Jefferson Memorial, they had a grand gala ball where they were all dancing in the same spot where these people allegedly got arrested. You see what I'm saying? And the founding of the whole thing, when he built it. So how is it now it's so bad that you can't even do that? And then who are the people, again, in their right minds enforcing something like that? Again, you are a pig or whoever on the ground in front of these people. Like, what about you is so robotic or detached from the human experience that you seek to come outside of it and act as a dominator or arm of something that you know is corrupt? Just nobody can tell me that they don't know that basically every facet of government is corrupt. Again, this doesn't mean that everyone in government is corrupt. It just means that for the most part, everyone has created a situation where they are perpetually creating situations to keep people afraid, man. Afraid of the Mexicans, afraid of the niggas in the ghetto, afraid of the white Klansmen, afraid of the Arabs, right? Afraid of the Chinese. It's like it's to the point where it's beyond normal now. The normality of it has become the preservation of it. So we, as the people who know better, are to the point where we have to figure out another way to deal with this. They've discovered a new form of DNA or mutant gene that they're referring to as Theomargita nambiensis, which means sulfur pair. And basically, it's a multi-dimensional gene that correlates with the RNA in a way that allows it to, depending on the genetic disposition of the individual, you to do like X-Men type stuff. So the question is why now? So at this point that this thing is now manifesting in us or around us, and it has a sulfur base, which is interesting, all of these means of societal or physical control are now coming down the closer we get to this jump date. This was in, you can see this, you can check that out in Huffington Post posted that, as well as NASA. They posted it as well. It's called Theomargita, Thiomargarita, nambiensis, NAMIBIENSIS. The explosions in the Midwest have now gotten so heavy that to hide a lot of the excess stuff that's seeping out of the ground and coming out, they're lighting forest fires to hide it. This is an old school tactic they've been doing. They've already put in movies they're doing. So it's a consistent thing, or another means of maintaining the grid. But in my opinion, they're reworking the grid and have blocked certain zones of the country out for certain things, like that whole Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, parts of Georgia place are targeted, where they want to kind of turn those back into like tar pits, like swamps, so they could run pipeline through and kind of turn it back into like almost like a giant refinery place, but like just a marsh, where they only have pig launches above ground. A pig launcher is when they run pipes underground or underwater or under a swamp. There's a section that has to be above ground for them to go in and regulate the flow of what's going through the pipe. So that section that exists, this is the only section that you could interface with the pipe with, really. So this is the section they refer to as the pig launcher. So they want to put armed guards on the pig launchers in the swamps to keep people from tapping into the pipe. But there's a moratorium on drilling. So what they're working to do is get the Alaska pipeline thing popping, just in case they can't get any more oil from the Arabs. They already set Turkey was set back with the earthquake. The Philippines, they was just getting ready to enter into a trading deal with China, where China's about to drop a bump of cash on them, and in return they would help China agriculturally, because China's going through the whole. They're about to start to reach the point where famine is about to become a thing, not necessarily for lack of food, but based upon price, cost of living and stuff, in terms of how the goods are exported back or imported from the United States over here. But every import that the United States sends to China, they got to send somewhat a subsidy or release with that, because of the fact that they owe China so much money. So you're either going to pay them, or you're going to get the money from somebody else, force them to pay them, or find a way to get rid of China before you got to pay them. And coincidentally, the markup comes up to bear in December of 2012. Which is a calculated end of their so-called society. But instead of it ending in the sense of the old way of doing things with hostility and bigotry and racism and all this other stuff, they want to phase it into almost a total non-human government, where, like, the bottom line, where, like, the corporate way of thinking replaces the human way of thinking. So humans are born as corporations, like you see in the Matrix and all that stuff, with the corporate mentality from the womb. So natural-born humans, or natural-born men and women, us, become the ones they put in, like, the Hunger Games and whatever else they want to prepare. Preparation of this was going on since 1492. 1492 and 1942 basically were the same year in harmonic resonance. You do the knowledge on it. And if you look at what was going down, both years were about the handover of ancestral power and the rise of corporate interests. Corporations are demons themselves, because they're real, yet they live. So in that, they're undead. So, however, your corporation is relative to, yet it's not of you as a member of this society, because they have already mapped out what they feel your contribution to this your type. Yet the article review is the detail. So you're at this constant state of you're always on guard. So yeah, we back. You know what it is. And this is what I'm saying. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Yet in that, they're proving my point. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we went out. They dropped the ball, but we back. But that's my point. You know what I mean? Is the fact that anything worth doing is going to take a while to do it. So let's see if we get some calls. 718 Heru Radio.
Hey, peace.
Peace.
Hey, how you doing? This is LT on the chat room. Peace, everybody in the chat room.
What's up, brother?
Hey, peace to you and the family, too. Hey, I got to ask you a question. We've been discussing in the chat room about, I've been getting a lot of loud noise in my tones in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, from the time that your show got cut off a couple of weeks ago,
right,
I've been hearing that noise louder and longer. And like Black Bones in the chat room was saying, we should try to manipulate it. But how and, I'm looking for answers.
Does it cause does it give you like a headache or something like that?
No. Just like, like how they, like on TV, they do the dog whistle, only the dog can hear it. It's like a tone.
Like a dog, like a frequency.
Yeah, frequency. And it's been louder and longer lately from the time your show got cut off a couple of weeks ago.
And that was right around the time that the gateway opened, remember?
Yeah.
That was the first time it became like a major thing. Because for a while it was okay, I noticed. I dealt with them, it was all good, we didn't have too many problems. And then, like, right before the whole opening, that 11/11/11 thing, that's when everything kind of went south. Have you had any interesting dreams since then?
Nah, I haven't been remembering my dreams. By the time I get up, I get bits and pieces lately. I need to start getting a pen and paper.
It might be easier sometimes to draw them instead of write them down. It might actually take less time.
To do what?
To draw them.
Oh, to draw them, okay.
Yeah, as opposed to writing them.
Yeah.
But
so with this tone, sorry to cut you off, but with the tone, is there anything to do about that, or what type of message are we getting?
That's a good question. I'm going to go back and listen to it.
The man called Sunday was talking about that. Peace,
Sunday.
Sunday.
Peace, Sunday. I'm going to do the knowledge to that and get back to you on Friday. We got a show on Friday. And then see what's up because, the natural assumption would be that it's them, the proverbial they, Yet, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yet, at the same time, it may not be. Maybe that was a transmission that we all got that they missed, that is lingering with us. Because if nobody's feeling an adverse effect, then it actually may be some sort of code.
Okay, yeah, that's what I think it is. I mean,
this show through the radio waves goes everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we don't know how far the show is going, how far, who's listening. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got the earthly stuff, the transmissions that we get to reports, like they send me of like how many people listen to stuff. But that's just what they're counting. You know what I'm saying? Or telling me that they're counting. We don't know where this is going to, how far this is reaching in the universe. You know what I'm saying? And therefore, then, we don't know how far our thoughts, which are essentially radio waves, microwaves, are then traveling, and what's being attracted from that. So maybe a meditation that we all could do, or anybody who after the show felt that, maybe what we could do is do a meditation at a certain time and ask the pineal organ what that was and see what you get. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
you got to be in a meditative state to ask the question, which means that anybody who participates in it has to be in a state where they can kind of tune everything out for a certain amount of time to get that information, pull that information out of yourself or ourselves.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. And I'll be here Friday.
Thank you, homie.
Okay. Peace.
That's interesting. (806) You on Super Heru Radio?
Peace, brother. Can you hear me?
Peace, I can hear you. How you doing, man?
All right, man. I wanted to send a shout out to you and your family, man. You know, I've been listening to you for a while, you know. It's my first time calling in. I'm actually in the chat room right now. And
all right, that's what's up, King.
I got a question in reference to your 12-12 show about the bowl of water under the bed.
Yeah.
Well, I want to explain to you, like, it's been 3 days since I started doing it or whatever. The first night, I had, like, the most lucid dream I've ever had, like, ever in my lifetime. But the next morning, I woke up, like very aggravated, you know, at the people that were in my life, like my personal life or whatever. And I was trying to figure out what was going on with that. Well, the second night, before I went to bed, I was upset or whatever, and I felt a lot of anxiety. But I fell asleep or whatever, woke up around 4 o'clock in the morning, and, like, all my emotions, like, I felt like I was, like, energized or something, man. Like, I didn't know what it was going on. I don't know if I just was, you know, just having anxiety or whatever. But when I got up to go to work, man, it felt like I was a completely different person, man. Like, I don't know what happened or if it was just me or something I ate. I want you to, you know, just kind of elaborate on what really I got into or whatever by putting that bowl of water under the bed.
Water is a medium of transmission and information because it exists everywhere. You know what I mean? All dimensions have some form of water. You know what I mean? Quicksilver, sand, all of that is essentially water. Carbon, you know, hydrogen. So in the sleep sphere, when you go into, let's say, REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, you move into a state where the soul is starting to free itself from the brain enough to be able to travel backwards to the point of where it manifested from. So the bowl of water acts as a transmission to help you along in the transition of emotion that takes place in that. due to you being a conscious being.
Because I got up, like, very emotional. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was, like,
because
bugged
it
out
made you
on
take
emotions.
stock of your reality based upon how vivid the real reality was, the dream state, the lucid dream in which you were conscious, took place. So everything that you downloaded from that point when you woke up into this reality universe, you kind of was vexed because it didn't really match up where you was kind of at, But in that's a purging also. Like the first time I ever did yoga, I threw up, But then I found out, Selena told me that's actually a process, a part of the yoga for some people. It's a purging of releasing whatever toxins that you need out of certain areas to be able to manipulate the body. So you going through that and allowing yourself to go through the emotion allowed you to get to the point where the spirit body became more comfortable with releasing more of itself to you. So the next day when you felt great, that's because you've now started to interlay or relate more to your higher self.
Okay.
Water under the bed is a medium for that. Other people would say, like on a basic, like let's say tribal level, it's a means to allow the vapors of the water to ease the soul's entrance into the dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But essentially, that's you becoming more comfortable with expression and being more realistic with your environment, because the more conscious you are in things, the more you want to match your words up with your deeds, if you really on it like that. So when you have things and people in your life that's not really on it like that, that you realize are now inhibiting you from doing that, now it's really about you implementing, you know what I'm saying, how you want to live, regardless of who or what.
So,
which will sometimes force a situation where these people become no longer part of your life in the manner that they were in prior to you reaching this epiphany.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff manifested itself after the first 2 days. And then the dream I had this morning was very lucid and vivid also. But, a lot of stuff manifested itself out of that one, too. So, it was just that I just had to share,
Thank you, man. I appreciate that because it shows that the stuff that I see in my practices and research is actually not just me. You know what I'm saying? It's not just us.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff is real. And when you really are striving to be as balanced as possible, you can rise above the negative, but then you could also see the positive through the negative. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't be positive. Like those New Age metaphysical people will tell you that it's positivity above everything else. Those people are the same as the people that's implementing this whole national defense NDAA shit. It's the same mentality, just reversed. So instead of you being all negative, you want to be all positive. So to be all positive means that you have put yourself outside again of everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but that's not how the world is. You know what I mean? So until it's like that, we all have to individually express ourselves in the manner that is, and that may not always be positive. Yet if you are striving to be as righteous as you can, then you know that you can't be a good person in a bad situation, just like you can't be a good person in a bad situation. It's the reverse. You got to do what you could do and have faith in that.
Yeah.
That's why the whole group thing is, that's why the whole group thing has been so rammed down people's throat. But now that the spell of religion is worn off on humanity, it's like everybody for themselves.
Yeah.
So the next time you're in a lucid dream, try to do things like run to a wall and push it down. You know, try to do something extreme in the dream once you become conscious of it, and then live through that, because then the next time you dream, you'll have more control.
Okay.
It's like as soon as you fall asleep, you'll know you're awake, and then you just start doing stuff. The more control you exert through each dream experience, the more you'll be able to go into it like they do in the movies.
Okay. One last thing though, I'm gonna say actually the issues that manifested, you know, up out of the, I guess, the transformation or whatever occurred. Like the issues, I'm looking at them, and it's kind of like you said, you know, somebody might not be in my life anymore, but it's like that's what happened, you know, and it's like now I'm trying to, I mean, should I not fight this, you know, or just get rid of? Because it's kind of like, you know, really what I'm going to, you know, I'll just say it to you. It has to do with women, you know. So,
of course,
and everything just manifested itself. Like,
what else is it going to be? There's nothing else more important. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we got it twisted. Like, we sometimes sometimes when you try to hold on to certain things, it'll turn sour because the message or the lesson you're supposed to get, you got already, but may not realize it. So you're trying to breathe life into something that's already kind of turned against you. Or it's a situation where you don't realize that what you perceive the relationship to be is not always what the other person believes it to be. But what keeps it going is the sex.
Yeah.
Either way, whatever you perceive it to be is what it's going to be until you find out it's something else. So all you can do is be as honest as you can be in the moment, so that way whatever happens, you can facilitate a positive expression in it and not necessarily take it personal, like this person just whatever, within reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's always the extreme in that. You know what I mean? Like at what point?
Man, it's right on the money, man. This is everything I'm going through. That's everything that manifested up out of that, man. Like, this is what's going on. Like, I'm like, I don't know, like emotionally, like really tripping right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really on me. And I'm trying to, I don't know, man. And that was just a small bowl of water. That wasn't even a big bowl, you know?
See? Exactly. Imagine you put a pot. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why
I put a bigger one last night, though.
See? You see what I'm saying? And that's what I mean, because the more water, the deeper the dream. That's why in the movie Inception, when they woke the dude up, they had to put him in the water.
In the water, yeah.
Because the water was the medium between the dimension, which is the Osarian realm, which is melanin in its green state, chlorophyll state, plant state, vegetative state, right? Which is the somatic, subconscious, superconscious state, which is called dream. So specifically speaking, it's a way for you to discern how to move in this reality by interfacing more with it, because, see, you're the conscious one in it. So regardless of who or what, you're always the one who knows better. Dig?
Yeah.
So sovereignty is really about, to me, I'm learning, is really about what you don't do, more so than, you know, what you're able to do as well. You know, it's like, if you want it like that, there's certain spheres and certain realms you really shouldn't be dealing with, because you know you're going to have to deal with the top of whatever that realm is, and that may not always put you in the best light.
Yeah.
And as the good guy in the story, you're burdened with responsibility of doing the right thing. That's the dilemma of the black men. We know we got to do the right thing, but, you know, what is that? It depends on who we doing it for. You know what I'm saying? And usually it's never for us, and that's the damn problem. Putting everybody, what everybody think about what we are, what we should be doing before us, instead of us saying, this is what we're going to do. These niggas don't give a damn. They'll wear a dress. This is what I'm going to do. They'll wear lipstick. This is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? They'll get in a plane with, marry a white woman, divorce her, have sex with the mistress who happens to be a whore and has a baby. This is what I'm going to do. And these people get image awards and concerts and invited to the White House and all this shit. And then people like us, we got to worry about, is these niggas going to try to flip on me because I'm talking real shit. But why should that be? I ain't telling people to do nothing against this government. Whatever people want to do, let them do it. That's my shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in a climate where they are locking people up for dancing, what's next? If they could do that, if you dream, you're going to jail. You know what I mean? If you don't walk at a 90-degree angle, you go to jail. if you don't, put up the hand like the Hell Hitler sign when you see the pig pass by, you're going to jail. They can do whatever.
Yeah.
So, definitely, brother, you definitely doing the right thing. I would definitely keep a journal the deeper you go in, you know what I'm saying? And start to leave things, like while you're in the dream doing something, take something out of your pocket that represents this reality and leave it there. And then the next time you wake up in a dream, go and see if it's still in the same place or it's become something else.
Okay.
Things like that allow you to have more of an interplay with your imagination in the dream, which then acts in the physical world as a deeper intuition and insight of a particular situation.
Okay.
All right.
I got one more thing for you, man, and this is it right here. Okay, now I know we live in the physical world, and I hear you speak on our ancestors, the Moors, but we live under certain laws and stuff. But from the spiritual aspect, like, what is it that we really, what is our end game, Like, I always hear people talk about what we're trying to get back to, but we still live in the physical realm, man. We got to survive and so on and so forth. Like, I ain't really heard nobody ask. I guess I have to define that myself, what the end game is. Someone told me, but collectively, I don't ever hear anyone speak about it, I mean, I guess we all working toward higher consciousness in ourselves.
You mean the end game for, like, us or this
like
present paradigm?
The present,
The present paradigm with us, including with everybody else, or the present paradigm with just us?
Us and everybody else.
Okay, well, from here, politically, you're going to get they're going to enact a form of fictitious American rebellion to upstage the Occupy thing. And then they're going to use that as the precursor to then, go into other aspects of surveillance and control that become more and more invasive, which will then promote a climate amongst the so-called talent class to make songs and stuff like that to incite people to rebel against that. And those that are sanctioned will be okay to do that, and those that won't will be, like, caught up in some sort of scandal where they got to go to jail or something like that. Then, on an international level, with the default of Greece and Germany and France basically bailing out all of Europe, Germany becomes where Germany was during the 1930s, basically at the stage to poise an invasion of Europe financially that's already been laid through the help of these Wall Street people over here, which then will translate into the Middle East as the eventual breakdown of Saudi Arabia due to if something's going to come out where they say, they was down with China. And then this becomes a precursor to strained relations between the Chinese and the Americans openly now. You see what I'm saying? from there, it then deteriorates to a point of climax where the now newly trying to stabilize itself Iraqi government finds issue with Iran, and the United States begins to use Iraq to prompt it to basically defend itself against the eventual subversion of Iran, which will then create hostility more with the United States and China, which will then manifest in more genocide killings in Africa. This is going to lead to an ultimate showdown in the UN where Russia basically is like, yo, these people is bugging out. Let's call in the money that the United States owes everybody else. At that point, the United States, everybody will turn against the United States as a federal government, and the United States will be scapegoated as the problem, of which now the plan is to dissolve it into this new thing, this fake highway thing. But underground, they've already set up this pipeline that they've activated through Alaska to help them deal while they have to fight the Arabs to take control of the oil field. All the while this is going on, Israel is in bitter conflict with Turkey because it'll probably be found out that Mossad has something to do, the United States has something to do with the earthquake. And Israel will then claim that Turkey has something to do with the flotilla. Remember they had that flotilla where they had all them ships that was trying to get into the Gaza Strip to get them black people food?
Yeah.
And Israel came on the boats. All of that becomes the precursor to this open incursion, to the point where either Pakistan gets invaded or openly invaded, or on the basis of they still got ties with Al-Qaeda, which is really the Arabic version of CIA, ran through Guantanamo Bay, right?
Yeah.
Or the opposite. They are the real issue, and everybody blames the Saudis, because everybody in Arabia hates the Saudis anyway. You ask everybody in Arabia, or what they call the Middle East, who's the people wilding and shit, they all say the Saudi Arabians. The Saudi Arabians and the Nigerians, that's what everybody say. The Nigerians be flipping the scams, man. They got too ill with the scams, man.
Yeah.
Now, because of that, Nigeria is basically being invaded in the highlands of it now, which will all culminate by that time. At that point, if they don't have some sort of political open coup d'etat, some shit over here, everything will be up for grabs, in which now the Vatican and all these other people start manipulating where the money's going to go in the new future. You know, because ain't nobody allowed to spend them but them. So essentially, you know, this is the world that they have depicted. So us within this are those of us who are participating in whatever level, because we haven't created a certain society or network with ourselves, specifically ourselves. You know, we don't have any of that. We depend on them.
Yeah. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, man.
These niggas,
right.
These blog talk niggas, excuse my French people, these blog talk niggas shit on me every week, and I'm paying these niggas. But how else am I going to be able to build with you?
Yeah.
This is the most consistent. I've looked into other joints, and I'm still looking into them, but there's a hook in every bait that they give you with them joints.
Yeah.
At least this is the devil I know. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not so sorry that I know that I don't depend on air to breathe. You know what I'm saying? But people within your community or whatever around you will be so constringent with you maintaining a certain idea of what self-sovereignty or whatever is, that they put more of it on you than they do on themselves. And then us being good people, we take it on. And now we dealing with our emotions and their emotions too. So that's kind of what happened, you know?
Yeah.
Just realizing that people's using you for an emotional sponge, you know? And you just like, yo, I'm done with it. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're supposed to do. But that's why they don't tell us to do shit like that. You see what I'm saying? The people who used to tell us to do stuff like that was our grandmothers and stuff. But our mothers took us, my great-grandmothers and them, and they put us in the church.
Yeah. Especially here in the South, man.
Now what happened? Now the church, Eddie Long and these dudes feeling up all the boys, having sex with all the little boys. Why do you think the choir director always gay? Why is the choir director always gay? What's up with that? You know what I'm saying? Like that's these are things that are perpetuated that we somehow adopt, and then we genetically create versions of this stuff in this reality, and then get mad when we see it. So, if you could build your own reality, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could share aspect of that with us, and then we could start to create that, and that's the type of shit I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, but so much they could do. In the climate of everything that I was talking about, I didn't even get into the nuclear aspect of this, because once they get into Iran, it's a wrap. Once they start talking about open sanctions on Iran, you know, or aggressive sanctions, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Because, see, they already put out the G that it's the end of the world. So they got to do the theater of war, right?
Yeah.
And make it happen. They committed. They can't stop. They can't stop. Like, ask a congressman, who writes the laws? They don't know. They don't even know. Who puts the paper on your desk? Who puts the law in the boxes on your desk? They don't know. They don't even be there. They got these niggas playing golf. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You got to be light in it too, you know. Like, it's bleak, but at the same time, you know, you still in your right mind. You still got your health, you know. You at least are realizing it now. Imagine if you realize it at 70.
Yeah.
Now how mad you would be. That's why you see grumpy old men. That's why you see these old men be vexed all the time. These niggas be like, damn, I figured that shit out too late.
So I guess feeling like being the outcast of the family ain't nothing new to people in the conscious community.
That's how you know you're doing something right. That's how you know you're the savior of the family. That's how you know you're the one in the family that's most like how the family was when it started. Because everybody's hating on you. How's everybody on the family hating on you? And you ain't kill nobody, steal nobody girlfriend, steal nobody money. You ain't never beat nobody up of them. You only try to help them. And the more you try to help them, the more mad they are at you. Because they can't be as you to them. And they know that.
I really thought I was going crazy, bro.
Like,
I really thought I was going crazy. I said I really thought I was going crazy, you know.
Man.
And because that's how that's how it is. I ain't gonna say that's how I feel, but that's how it is, man. So
that's what I'm saying. That's how you know you're in like the second to third stage of conscious awareness. This is what you go through as a conscious original person. That's multi-conscious. That's conscious of multi-dimensional consciousness. We're the first ones that's really active in this pursuit. That's why we can identify with each other across this vast nation or world based upon what we're talking about here. I really don't care what anybody else is building on. It's not that I'm hating on anybody. It's just that I know that at this point in my life, I can't be influenced by anybody else because I can't vouch for anybody else other than those people who present themselves. But then in that, I'm blessed through consciousness enough to realize relationships build over time. And it's not just because this person is cool now that's always going to be like that. You got to let people be who they are and evolve to who they're going to be. But people get in relationships and think that's who they're going to always be. This person in front of you, this is who they are. You don't even know if that's who they are.
Yeah.
You don't even know. Our mother didn't tell us to ask these chicks certain things, whether or not they came from a stable home, whether or not they knew their father, what their relationship was like with their brother, was they ever molested. Our fathers didn't ask our daughters that because our mothers and fathers were split up, voluntarily and involuntarily, put in other people's care. We're all responsible in that.
Yeah.
You know, so there's only but so much you can do. So you can only do what you can do, and only you know what that is. So whatever you can do to do it, you know. But strive not to take it personal from these people, and strive not to convince these people of nothing. Let them think what they think and do you. The more you do you, and the more successful you are in doing that, the more they will come to you individually and start asking you little shit here and there and try to, you know, be cool and all of that, because you're not giving them anything anymore. That's the thing. You're just giving. That's the thing. You're just giving it away.
I hear that, bro.
We have to. It's like we almost have to retrain ourselves to respect love, because all we see in music and stuff is money, the sex. That's all it is. So it's like harmonics deals with the emotional value. So if the emotional harmonics is always revolving around something materially physical and potentially detrimental, that's what we're going to manifest with each other physically and sexually. And that's what happens. So all I'm saying to you, bro, is just, you know, keep a record of what you're doing. Do you. And know that the Creator got a plan for you, man. And you already doing it. And you know it because you're the one that everybody's hating on. Right? They didn't go get Jesus. They didn't go get Tom. They didn't go get Paul. They got Jesus. You know what I mean? So, because that's the allegory for every original man in the world of consciousness, born before their time, you living out what it is these movies and these Bibles and all this stuff is about. So naturally, you're going to be the one that's the most hated on, but then one that's the most revered. The one that's the most coveted, but then the one that's the most feared, you know? It's weird.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird. Because the more genuine you are, the more people don't believe you, man. That's what's fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The more real, the more nice you are to people, the more you're like, he's not nice. It's like, but I said thank you. Yeah, you said thank you too much. Like, this is how people are, man. This is where people are at right now. So it's like you got to be around people that really are humans, man, who think like human beings. You know? Anybody who don't think like that is one of these black, faceless police that's breaking people's cribs, man. You know what I'm saying? So, good. Congratulations to you, brother, for that breakthrough, and I'm glad that it worked for you.
Yeah, man, I'm glad, you know, I got a chance to hear the lecture, man. I try to get to it, you know, every week, man, but I've worked on the days or time will slip me because it's Eastern time and I'm here in Central time or whatever. But, you know, I've been listening to you for years, man, and
thank you, brother.
You're a blessing to me, man, you know. So I'm going to keep on listening, man, and I appreciate it.
Oh, man.
All right.
You as well. Peace, King. (860) doing Super Radio.
Islam, Moore.
Islam, Moore.
How you doing, brother? This is Kevin out of Connecticut, man.
King. How you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you and the family?
I'm well, brother. As well as I can be. How are you?
I'm nice. I just have a comment and a couple questions. Of course, I love your
What's
show.
up? Thank you, brother.
And I was wondering if you can comment on when you'll publish your book, if you, like, set a date sometime in January of next year. And then also,
yes, sir.
I was wondering if you can comment on the fact of what we should be doing as Moors, you know, as we reawaken to ourselves in this existence, and the fact that the U.S. government is pushing towards, like, more control. I'm wondering if that's associated with the fact that we have to reacquire our kingdom and the fact that a lot of the U.S. citizens are going to be astounded by the fact that we are true sovereigns of this land, and to kind of quell the the rioting and the chaos if that's what they're going towards. So I was just wondering if you can comment on those two things.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, the whole thing, they view us, they are taking the position that we have abandoned the national government, the national republic, the true national original republic, with all of the dominions and all of that stuff associated with it, and all the old maps and all of that. So, because they believe that, they set in motion documentation to allow their United States citizens to become corporatized and indentured, because the debt was originally to us. You know what I'm saying? Because
right.
They could never pay, because at the time of the agreement, they were all slaves. You did? So as slaves, even though they were esquires, they were still slaves of the king that they was rebelling against. So the only real power that they had came from the few of them that was working and those of them that had been upgraded through Freemasonry. So they had to attach themselves onto our greater independence movement away from the old empire of mothers and sons that was now decaying into what became the Osmanli Ottoman Empire, or what they call the old man of the West. So around the time of the last, around 30, after 28, after the whole Pan-African Conference with Noble Joe Ali, they set in motion the whole thing to try to take him out ritualistically, and then set up to create the schisms between the Moors. At that point, they created the Shriners, or the Shriners were created as a white egalitarian society that was in secret dealing with, Moorish science, but to the public had been reorganized to seem like buffoonery or, philanthropy, like with the hospitals and stuff. So the Moors at this time were going through their phases, of which they were still maintaining their nationality, but the temples was being run kind of like 501c3s almost, So by the 80s, the Patriot movement had reached the level of its own racist Ku Klux Klan, Anglo Freemason shit, that they realized, oh shit, we do owe these people all this money and blah, blah, blah. We were never really a part of it, so we got to find a way into it. So they found a way into it through the UCC thing. You see what I'm saying? And they brought that into the Moorish consciousness, and then that became the allegory of getting paid in the connection with the contract trust number and all that other shit.
Right.
But all of that stuff.
No, I'm sorry, but I think that's the trap.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, to distract the people to go into the direction of thinking monetarily and less nationalistically.
Right.
So it created factional temples and factional Moors, in which you have what I refer to as temple Moors, right? Moors who developed outside of the temple, but still had dealings with certain Moors who came up in it. And then those cultured Moors, and then those temple Moors. So those temple Moors are the ones that's coming up in it, through it, and then the cultured Moors are the ones that's kind of on the outside, So this created this whole new version of the ancient and modern system playing out through our little black experience as young black men coming up in America.
Right.
Which then now, we are now starting to realize how deep now it is, but also the fact that it was really about us doing what we needed to do nationalistically as a people in the first place. Yet, each one of us are claiming different pseudo-nationalities that may or may not in fact exist. So in that, some of us are perpetuating different versions of that, because as great as we are as Moors, there's no place in the world called Moorland. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
As great as we are as Kemites or whatever, there is no Kemet. There's only Egypt. So when we say Kemet, to some people we sound like, we on some other shit. When really that's the original name. So we're always dealing with translating what we are to someone around us. That's because we don't have a unified understanding of us as an ancient people through these various cultures that unify around this certain principle, who express it how they express it like this, but come together when whatever has to happen, whatever that is. Until we get to that point, you know what I'm saying? We're going to be, at this point. So it's not so much about asking these people for recognition, more than about reestablishing, going to them and reestablishing, going into the offices of government and reestablishing the republic, the national government. But they don't want anybody to do that, really. See what I'm saying?
No,
they would look at that as seditious.
Yeah, they would prefer us all to be Negroes and African American or whatever else we're going to be. Also, like, I have another question.
That's what you want to do. Go ahead.
Right. I have another question. Really quickly. So I started reading the two books by Barry Fells, Saga America and America BC, and I'm sure you probably have read those, but I was wondering if you can comment about the hypotheses that the author is suggesting that there was trade occurring, despite finding so many thousands of like coins of Arabic nature, as well as a lot of the Babylonian relics.
They call it ancient Libyan script from Punt. That was the biblical name of Libya. And all of that is exactly what I'm talking about. That's connected to the Washita, or who came out of the original Tomoakan, who are the Moors of the world, not only native to this land, but then have their ancestry connected to specifically the ones in what is called Europe, more so sometimes than that of Africa. That's why the issue. So when you hear black people talk about they got Scottish or they got Irish or whatever in their family, of course, in modern times we are thinking that as, oh, they got white people in their family. No. That means that they got black Irish or black Scottish in their family. They just think that these black ancestors was white. That's how twisted they got us.
Right. Yeah, because my girlfriend, she's from Jamaica, and her last name is McDougal, and she traces it back to, like, Ireland. And it's like...
That's Iberia for us.
It's crazy.
That's Iberia for us. We have Celtic, or what they call Hallstatt Celts.
Right.
You know? So it's us. It's always us. It's us all the time. It's just that they've created a word called narcissism, a word called narcissism that says that if I think highly of myself, then I'm somehow fixated on myself, and I think that I'm better than everybody else because I'm assertive or because I'm confident in what I say. So what are they saying? They're saying that anyone who is confident in what they're saying is arrogant. You see what I'm saying? And then they use physical hand puppets, finger puppets, like Kanye West, to throw tantrums and shit like that. But to have money to then see that you can still do that in the world and get paid. You see? So it's okay. And this is what I'm saying. This is the insidious nature of what we live inside or lives around us. So we as a community are those of us who see things like this. Therefore, we in that same community are that nation who see things like this. Yet we are that within ourselves more so than that collectively to the point where we can physically whatever. But that could never happen in the climate that it is because forget about the government. They're not even the problem. With all the stuff they're talking about doing, they're not even the problem. They're just doing what they got to do to hold things together until it really collapses. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They know that. That's why they don't care. They've already assumed that they've lost. That's why they could win. You know what I'm saying? Like the Giants, when they were before the Super Bowl game, they were all dressed in black and get off the plane because they were acting like they were going to the funeral of the opposing team. And whenever they did that, they win.
Right. It's all a ritual.
So it's almost like you got to give thanks to the gift before it happens in order for you to really make it happen. You know what I'm saying? You almost got to give thanks for it before it actually manifests and give thanks for it like it already has sometimes. And it does. So thank you for that, brother.
All right,
as far as the book, inshallah, will be out officially in the beginning of the new year. And God willing, it will really do what it's supposed to do. And I thank you for those people who have been patient with the orders. We just been working to find a place within the country as opposed to shipping the book to China or whatever. Find it someplace in this country so that way it is out of the Republic. You know what I mean? And it is something that is, quote unquote, American made or made here by somebody like us to show the people that it's still something that can happen. You know what I mean? And what's happening is not just affecting us. It's really affecting all of these people. But specifically, we're the only ones who can really do anything about it. So everybody looking at us like, so what's up?
Everybody's waiting for us, and then, we're waiting for the black woman, because I've reawakened to a world where patriarchal is the rule of the day, but the original way is through the black woman. She's the original God. So, I have to reckon my sisters out there.
Indeed, God. That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly. So we're going to get it together, man. We're going to build this Friday. So thank you for that. And please, if you can, email me at houseofl@hotmail.com so I can send you some of the flyers we have on the project so you can see some of the character reps and stuff like that.
All right, thanks. Peace, Lord.
Thank you, brother. Peace. So thank you, everyone, for the participation. Anyone wants to get into our class this Wednesday, holler at me at houseofl@hotmail.com. Also, for the upcoming class we have in January in Janice, it will be great. We'll have information on that you can check out. Also, anybody who wants to build specifically on any tarot readings or any natal readings, we do those very well. Thank you to the brother for calling and letting me know that the whole thing works. The whole thing worked. Because in doing a knowledge to this, we've done instances and where we've seen kind of miraculous things, but you can't always say that or always say what it is, because these things are for us and are somewhat private, and what we must do sometimes is be in the spirit of keeping the information for ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone should have something for themselves. And in the surveillance age, you are taught that that is wrong, and that is against enlightenment, and that is not true. So, in this new moon in December, we got to do the knowledge that the energy that's coming through is a new level of consciousness that will definitely express itself in many ways. And many parts of seeking expression at this point. So now is the time to understand what words like archetype, embodiment, avatar, what things like superheroes or mythical beasts, as well as subtle glances, what these things really mean. These things will be signs or manifestations of what people refer to as new experiences, which are really fought in life to bring out the greater inner motivation that leads us to expand who and what we really are. All of this is coming down, due to this new moon energy, Capricorn specifically, which is also Saturn, Saturnian, which is why the government, again, is taking a Saturnian view of trying to constrict to create more of an artistic value in people and things, to force people to believe and understand what it really means to be human. This is their perverted way of getting us to understand this. This is why Noble Ali referred to them as the protectors of true Islam, which is Asaf Law and Master, knowing what you are willing to be part of, what you are. These things are particularly manifested in aspects of things like reincarnation, spiritual rebirth, changing, So these are different times. So because Saturn, which is the ruler of this Capricorn new moon, is bringing the message of salvation, but it's also manifesting as Libra. It's also manifesting as Libra in 28 degrees. So we got to watch out for unrealistic goals and people and things that aren't going to turn out to be fruition based upon who you're dealing with. So definitely look around, cut off your frenemies, do what you need to do to preserve your soul, your spirit, your family. Don't get too caught up in what they're saying they're going to do. Look at what's happening around you and do what you need to do, and inshallah things will work out. So on Saturday from 8 to 11, you can check me out at Saturday. Everybody can check me out at the African Bookstore at 3600 in West Barra Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Anybody wants any info on it, you can hit up the brothers of the Orion Belt Productions at 786-357-1899 or 954-730-0153. The lecture is entitled The Recolonization of the Black Alien in Africa, 0 Point Energy, the Celestial Family Trust. Thank you guys who are putting everything together. Thank you guys for putting everything in motion. Thank you, family, for holding us down. Thank you to the ancestors for protecting us at this perilous time in which these things are happening to us. Thanks to my wife and my children. May they stay blessed. May your wives and children stay blessed and your husbands come home from wherever they at. Make sure that you know who and what you're dealing with and protect yourself spiritually. Keep that dream journal. Do what you need to do. It's not over. Regardless of what these bastards think they're doing, the Creator's still in control. So again, anybody wants to check us out this Saturday at the African Bookstore, 3600 West Broward Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale. You can email me at houseofl@hotmail.com, or you can check out our website, www.aseer.com. Tears is T-I-E-R-S. Check out www.sagasod.com. And everybody in the chat room, thank you for holding us down and dealing with all the technical difficulties. And peace.